All right, let's jump into it. Where are we at? 4 to 11. So I might see a little bit of volume sort of popping in a moment. Look, I'll start off with Aussie because this has been the big trade. Well, for me anyway, I've absolutely destroyed the shorts. Most of this week actually. So you know what I mean. It's been up and down like this, obviously on daily time frame here. And we can see it's just tapped straight back into that buy zone, 67 round number. We're seeing a little bit of a push off from this lot here. Um, I don't know if this is done though yet, and quite frankly, I'm probably looking to possibly push a little bit lower with this one here. So, I mean, look, this has been an absolute like remarkable amount of V-shaped recovery. I mean, this whole thing is a V-shape basically. But if you get down onto, let's have a look on the sort of lower time frames, these kind of moves here, like down, bang, straight back up, like dribble down, but bang, straight back up. V shape here, bang, straight back up. It has been like V-shaped recoveries aren't a super common sort of thing, and yeah, we've been seeing a lot of it. I think more so up the top around here though, maybe sort of more of the sort of distribution though. Um, just the sort of fact that sort of it shoots up so quickly just so they can sell more down. Shoots back up, drags in more people, shoot it back down, and that. Which leads me to think that there's probably a little bit more downside to come with this. I mean, this was the first call that we were looking at, sort of going through this sort of little short term, um, incredibly steep push up to the top side here. Came up, retest the other side, and it just sort of, just, you can see it's a bit of a rounded top over here. Came back once it sort of had this last touch up here. We got that reaction, which we assumed we pretty much would. Off here, a break, retest, and bang, away she went down underneath there. So it makes me think that sort of like, you know, given the run that we've had, I mean, the run from 63 and a half, like from that big drop down, but I'm looking more at this more recent sort of run from this little sort of drop off down here, just before we sort of came through 66.40 and that, and then really took off last Friday, that was. And this is what I was mentioning time and time again. I'm like, 66.40, that's going to be the level. It did it, and look at it go. Bang, 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 bang. And they've just sort of jammed it up and down around the top over here. So a little bit of a pullback. So if we look at just this move here, we drag the lows up to, well, let me just get up here so we can actually line that up properly with the highs. There's the high there. You can see that sort of, look, the 23, not really a super strong level, didn't do anything. And this is pretty much, look, break under the lows for the confirmation. This is it. Break, retest, lower low, confirmation. Bang, down here. So yeah, look, this little side bar here, I don't know where the little description, there we go. Is that? I don't know. Wherever the little description's gone for it that I had on this little ledge here, I said was going to be sort of quite important. And as you can see, as it bounced down here into first touch of 67, sorry, it bounced back up, rejected here, and went down again. And it's obviously just sort of a little stuffing around here. So for this to recover, first, I mean, obviously, sort of first things first, you want to get back up above that 67.20 level because we can see this is where the buys were. You can see as it's come through and come back up the other side, people are like, okay, look, I'm getting out there. So what you want to see is that this level here is basically depleted of whoever wants to sort of sell it here. Whoever wants to go, look, you know what, I'm happy with my profit. It's been a massive run. Like from the lows, you're up 400 points. For Aussie, that is a big move. That's, 8% or so. Um, so, there's a lot of profit on the table. So I would say that sort of people, and this is why these kind of little areas up the top up here, I feel are a little bit of distribution. They sold it down, took profit. Then they sort of move it back up and then sell it down again. Move it up, sell it down. And it just, as you can see, it's just going sideways through here. So every time they had a chance to sort of take profit up in this top zone over here for their longs, they were doing it. And eventually, bang, they're like, no, let's just get out of this. And here we are back down into this lower zone over here. So 67, you got the mental factor that's a round number. We can see that over here previously, smaller, mind you, smaller area, but we had it marked out. So this is why we had our buy zone down here. As you can see, tapped right into this buy zone one, two, three times, and we're seeing a little bit of a reaction and sort of coming off to the top side here. So look, I mean, we could see a V shape, and it could come all the way back up over here. I mean, as I said, 67.20 would give you a nice clear move above this little zone that we have marked out, and then you could really be opening up to 67.40s. But I think the fact that we've broken this immediate trend, broken this medium term with backtest trend, I think price will need to be sort of, punished a little bit. And by that, I kind of mean that sort of, let's get rid of this, it's not relevant anymore. By that, I think sort of like probably around the 67, 66, 66, 60, 66, 70 level, I think could be an area. A couple of things lining up with this would be if we sort of drag this down here, let's make this a normal one. If we were sort of looking at this as potentially like, say, a developing bear flag, and it would move something like this. I mean, we haven't really got full confirmation for this to be a bear flag, but if this were to be the case, you'd be looking at where is your price targets. And if we sort of drag this, so it does get a little bit of a push up over here, this is the kind of area that we could be looking down. And this would be our new little price target for short positions, which, as you can see, kind of lines up with a few things that we've previously sort of marked out on here. This is our second buy zone. If we drag it back, there was a little bit of congestion around here. Not really enough. I'd almost sort of disregard a couple of these levels, to be honest, actually. So I'm not putting too much faith on that. We got the 50% retracement of this sort of move from the lows down here. And I think this would be a better sort of risk reward position than trying to buy this first drop down. So typically, I mean, 90% of the time, I'm sort of, trying to buy dips on Aussie and that. And, sometimes it works amazingly, sometimes it works absolutely shockingly. But one thing I do notice is I tend to jump back in too early. I may miss the boat with this one, and have it sort of just recover and then go back up here. Ultimately, look, I do think Aussie is going up for yearly highs. I think that is, we're going to see new yearly highs by the end of this year. And where are we at? 23rd of August at the moment. But it doesn't mean that it can't sort of come back down here a little bit further, create a better buy opportunity before we do hit those levels. Because you got to think sort of like, again, this has been a massive run up through here. There's a lot of profit on the table. DXY is coming off a very sort of high time frame support zone, which we saw with the negative divergence yesterday. So, that could see a little bit of a rebalancing as they sort of push DXY a little bit. You could sort of get another leg down on Aussie. I mean, certainly at the moment, it's not looking like we're going to go there. It's looking like it wants to just pop and then go straight back up here. But this is the plan, and this is how I'm sort of approaching this. We've got Jackson Hole happening at the moment. Not really too up to date with sort of what they've been sort of saying or haven't seen any commentary come out of there yet. So that could be a factor sort of moving things, and certainly the expectation is very much that they're going to be quite dovish, and obviously they've got to explain away those sort of horrible numbers for the reason why they told everybody that there was 800,000 more jobs than there actually were. So there's a couple little factors there, but I think sort of particularly with Aussie, I'd be looking for this bear flag confirmation underneath 96. I think your shorts could hold up there. A little bit of a congestion around the 80s on the way up through here. This could provide some sort of little stuff around again. Charts like to sort of replicate themselves. They cut through areas and then they cut through areas again. So if we do get down here, I'd just sort of be looking to sort of start flipping long, probably in the sort of lower the better, obviously, in terms of if you are long, but from maybe the 80s, maybe 70s actually. I'll have to sort of fine tune my entry a little bit with this, but I mean, first things first, let's see if it actually makes a low and it doesn't just shoot back up here, because otherwise all this planning and everything sort of becomes a little bit obsolete. Again, look, if it does move down here, you can always overshoot things down into this lower buy zone. 61% we know is a very strong level for Aussie particularly. but for a lot of these things. So you will see a great reaction should you get down to 66.40s. So if I mean, I'll layer in some positions here, but if we get down to 66.40, I'd be sort of trying to sort of probably put a little bit more weight on it just to sort of see if we could get a stronger kind of reaction to move back up. All right, gold came down last night. So which chart have we been using? This is the one, I think. And as we can see, this is the break retest, another retest, and then push back down. This is interesting then because I sent this to a mate actually as it was kind of happening the other day, and I sort of said, look, here was your break. So I was shorting up around this area here in the low to mid 20s. And I caught this move down here, and then I caught another move either down this section, no, down through this move over here, coming down to the lows, came up here. This is a perfect example because you had this major breakout, and these are all-time highs. Market tries to buy to sort of get the launch up to price targets over here, the 55 thing, and I saw a lot of people going, yeah, it's going to go there, it's going to go there. And typically when you see a lot of people sort of saying it, that's when it's not going to happen. But anyway, regardless, the point is that it broke there. I banked on this, came back up. You can see where this segment of the market that was very like it tested it a couple of times. This is on a 1 hour, but it tested it a couple of times to try and launch on for a continuation, failed to do so. As it came back up, anybody who had bought in this little support area here to try and get up here, they were like, look, I've got a chance to get out for nothing. Boom. I got a chance to get out for nothing. Boom. And they just did it and did it again. So we can almost, this seems to be lining up quite well. Almost sort of find ourselves a little bit of a channel perhaps where we'd be happy to call gold. Not a big fan of this lower. There's not really too much you can make of this lower one. Look, I'll do this just for now. Um, I think the more important line with this is this top one here, which does tend to line up quite well. So it gives us a little upside target if it does decide to jump up. I actually got back in at 81. I jumped off at 86 though, so it was only a quick trade. 81 down here, 86 out over here. Just because again, I think I think DXY's got some squeezing ability, even though as I look at it right now, it's sort of selling down. Generally, as I said, more often than not, you don't get V shapes. Generally, it'll test down a couple of times, and it has tested here a couple of times, but I still think it'll stuff around. I think what we'll end up doing is getting some sort of little box down here, which will sort of just become a little breakout box, a little consolidation area. This is what I think will happen with it all. I mean, look, this could still go lower and snap some people out. But I think sort of more often than not, sorry, I think more realistically, we see a little bit of this action. Should we break up above here? We've got some levels that we've got to sort of really, work hard to get above. You've got to get above, where's that little arrow gone? This falling resistance, which we can see here, 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 and from the very start up here. So that's going to be an issue as it does come into this section here. Also this horizontal, which could be now moved up or down a little bit. So it's a little bit of a wider sort of one. I'll make it just a bit chunkier because of course, you've got wicks flying all over the area. But this is the kind of area I would say, look, if you can get back up above, and look at this, it lines up with the big round number as well. So if you can get back up above 2,500, that takes you out of this little channel that it's forming, takes you across this little area through here. I mean, yeah, there's little zones to sort of deal with above this, like this, which we can see was this zone that continues through here. Let me just fix that up there. This one through here, which lines up very nice. So above 25, you're looking like you're going okay. Above 25.10, and we're back off. We're back on, and we're sort of like going up to test the highs and get our big breakout. So that's where I'll put the breakout from. A big one above 25.10. I think these things will just get chopped through, and this will just be a little pullback thing. And if you look at what I've sort of been saying the whole time, you don't get the breakout here. Look, my mate was asking me, he's like, sort of like, why were you shorting it here? And I said, look, because typically things don't break out and just go. You know what I mean? Like if we put this on a higher time frame, we never really had a retest of this level here. And this is why I had my orders at 81 and it went down to 70. So, I didn't get a perfect order or anything, but we broke out here. We never got the back test down here. So now we've got the back test. All the people were shorting here, shorting here, shorting here, shorting here. They've got a chance to close out their shorts for nothing to get out of their positions. And we see a little bit of buying here. I still think, as I said, we potentially have some downside, but I've got my orders back in this box because I do think we are going to 2600. I'm starting small, but as I said, as we break these levels here, 2500, and then we break 2510, I think that's going to be when we're sort of going to see the big move here because structure-wise, break, retest, you need to retest these highs over here. Like these little parts are just smaller little intermediate bits, but the flow is the breakout, the retest. We need to see how strong this is. So it will, I believe it will come. You put your target, first of all, here at the highs, because then you could have some little range, double top, this kind of thing happening. So you get paid a little bit there. But you've got to see, are we going to go for a higher high, which is the continuation? And as you can see, there's the structure. Or are we going to get a lower high like this? And this little effort here doesn't even get to that high. And then we can say, okay, look, that's a double fail. And then you're looking for shorts underneath 2470 as a failed breakout to come back down into this range over here. Because remember, this is the range that I sort of called. So we can actually get rid of a few of these just to clean it up a bit. This is what I was saying. And this is the range break. So if we take out 2533, here's our breakout, here's our back test. If this goes through here, then you're going up to 2600. That's your sort of move that you're looking for. If you can sort of get a break of these previous highs. But it doesn't mean that the pullback is done yet. The pullback could come here. The pullback could come all the way down here and stop out all the things here. So people sort of talk about, oh, there's all this liquidity down underneath these levels, whatever. It's just an arse. They just like to sort of just rip out people that sort of didn't take profit. And this is why you take profit along the way. Because sort of like, they'll come back down here and your textbook positions and your textbook stops and stops to even and all this kind of thing will end up with you not getting paid. You won't make any money. Or even worse, you'll probably lose money. You could lose money. So, why sort of allow that to sort of happen? You've got to take profit along the way. I mean, end of the day, you've got to get paid. Like that's the main sort of thing. So I do believe that we are going to get a retest of the 25, 30, whatever highs we hit. But I think a little bit of consolidation first, with more sort of idea of potential, excuse me, potential downside. If we get back down to this sort of 25, so 2460 level, I'd like to have a bit of a stab there. And we can sort of see how does this line up. If we sort of take these as the lows and this is the high, we can put, fib retracement on there. And look, if it does come down here, is the 61% retracement. You know what I mean? Again, I was saying this with the Aussie, and it's very hard to sort of see these things as a potential while things are running so hard. You're like, no, it'll never come back to that level. It does. Like that's the thing. You need to realize that it's not even sort of the cliche thing of nothing goes in a straight line. Not even does it not go in a straight line. It'll absolutely sort of smash like negatively before it goes up because they're there to like there's somebody on the other end of these trades and they're there to take your money. That's the game. That is what they're doing. So you know what I mean. You can hold in hope, but I don't use the word hope. There's got to be a sort of an idea and a plan behind these things. So anyway, that's getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. As I said, I think the here and now we potentially see some little consolidation around this area with more of a risk to a downside. Again, you could look at something like this and say, look, if this were to be some sort of little bear flag, presuming that is the high there, this would be your little bear flag target down here. So if we take out 70, I'm looking at 50. And then I'll start to get some buys happening here. Let's call this buy zone. Yeah, buy zone slash price target. If you're short, I have no gold exposure at the moment, but I would like to get long. I think shorts are very going to be short-lived. But there's opportunity to be made in it. I mean, if you short this here, you got a $40 move to the downside. So you know what I mean. But if we get down here, a completion of that bear flag, I'd be looking to flip long around 24.50s, and that gives you a pretty good sort of idea to sort of move back up to retest that side. That's another $80 back up to retest the highs, if that happens to come. We got to see, because again, you got to remember that DXY is super weak. It's going to be sort of spoken about with super dovish tones. Cuts are coming in potentially 2 weeks. These things are going to sort of happen. So, you know what I mean? Again, if you do get some downside, keep that in the back of your mind, because 90% of the time, gold and US dollar will run inverse. And if we do get those cuts, depending on how much they price in, we could see a nice sort of resurgence of metals sort of come sort of like, that first week or second week of September when we have the FOMC. So we'll see how we go with that. Otherwise, I mean, maybe we get the V shape and it comes right back up here today. Who knows? This is my sort of feeling and plan with it all. As I said, above 25 and then 25.10. They're the levels that I'm looking for to sort of see if we're actually going to be doing anything. So I'll put this back up here. Let's call this one. Look at that, a previous all-time high. Good on them. Testing 2500 here. Even though it's at 97, just an alert to sort of, so get me to have a look at the charts if I'm not there. All right, cool, flip along. We got silver. Silver, I was looking for buys down underneath 29. I actually got a good fill right at the bottom of this wick yesterday. It was like, I put it on X and it was just like, this was about as good as it gets. And look, it bounced up and I sold pretty quickly actually. Because look, the position wasn't massive, but it was a decent little return for 5 minutes or whatever it was. But that fill was just like to the point. It was like poof right down here. So look, same thing. I think that potentially now that we've broken back to the downside here, we could have a little bit more action. I'd like to sort of get in lower. I think this is a potential area, depending on how fast we come back to it. This little sort of rising support, which we kind of just blew away from. But this seems like a decent area if we could get an option to get back over here to buy it. So got little horizontals over here. It's a fairly wide area, but again, I do believe we're going higher. But I think there is a chance to stop out some people. Because again, the thing is, it's this, as I keep saying, there's somebody on the other end of the trade, right? So people are seeing this, they give it a go. Oof, they come down, make a new low, stop them out. Okay, give it another go, push it up. You got so many of them, like portions of the market that are just like, oh, it just only goes up. And they're buying it and they're buying dips and they've bought dips all the way through here. And it's worked so well for them every single time. Eventually, they screw those people out because they get overconfident, they position size up, and as they position size up, well, this is what they do. People come in and they don't buy the dip, or they'll sort of drop it 3 or 4 times over, and these people get stopped out, give it back, 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 and once they're all done mentally and financially, then they'll run it back up. So I don't think there's any prizes for jumping in and being first in with these positions right here. I think we've got some more downside to come. So again, I'm waiting. 28.50 would be a nice level for me to sort of chuck some buys on, I'd say. Again, I could miss the whole thing. Who knows? But this is what I'm looking for here. I'll pull back to this zone and then push back up to touch this main falling resistance. But I think we've got some stopping out to do before they do that. All right, DXY. So this is a textbook play. If you watch anything of what I do, I love negative divergence. They're just such a high hit ratio. particularly when you can combine them with some very strong supports and then completely oversold fucking move. I mean, look, this is a massive move down for DXY, just one direction from here. That's a 2% move, which for DXY is huge. So that is very much a big sell down here. We got the negative divergence, got the reaction, we got the big move last night. I sent something to a mate, and I sort of said, look, this is the level that I was kind of looking for, and looks like it was pretty much spot on. Well, actually, what am I talking about? It was spot on. It sort of obviously pushed through with the highs, but the closes unable to get through these areas here. So here we are, little gap down this morning, and they're trying to sell it down again. So you got to think where to from here. Potentially, we see this. This was a little bit of an area sort of coming through here. Obviously, sort of held, and it was a little bit of a stuff around on the way back up. Made it through. We'll have to sort of see how this plays out. But I'm just having a look at a few things now. You're seeing, excuse me, the metals are hitting a little bit of resistance. Aussie's back up. It's hit 15, so it's 16, 17 points off its lows, but it's hitting its little resistance, its bounce resistance area. So I'd say a little bit more. If we see a reaction at this zone here, then we'll see metals come down, we'll see Aussie come down, and potentially a move higher here. This, actually, if you look at this now, could be sort of as a inverted head and shoulders. Here's the little thing. Yeah, that's a plausible play, which, if we did see a play out of this, gives us a retest. Probably I'd say it's back up around this zone. Actually, probably this one over here. I reckon it'd be interesting. We'll see how it sort of plays out. So that's your measured move here. If we drag this up, yeah, right up into that zone, which we know is a pretty strong resistance area. Well, it's been a support, and it was a big sort of bounce support, and it broke through here. Little retest here, but not a full one. But if they do decide to squeeze this, this is the area back up at 102. And this is what I've been saying, that sort of like, there's no reason why they can't sell this down here, bounce it back up here, just so they can sell it at a bigger, better level to retest these lows and then come down like this. And this is what I've been sort of saying through the week. Like, you got to look at these things on all time frames. This is on the 4 hour. And look, this could just go right back down here. You know what I mean? I could be obviously drastically wrong, and we see V-shaped recoveries on everything. Certainly, you know what I mean? There's not really a great fundamental reason to be buying US dollar at this point. But that doesn't mean that these things can't squeeze and just sort of like, take some people out. Because a lot of people think that. A lot of people sort of see there's no reason to be buying it. So that means once there's a large segment of the market looking in one direction, there's potential to put the pain trade in the other direction and sort of really sort of squeeze people. So let's put this here, change this one here, and say inverted head and shoulders, breaking neckline, price target 102. If it comes, I mean, who knows? Maybe it just goes crushing through here, but this is a potential. And the thing is as well, you don't have to sort of predict these things, but be aware of how it's playing it out. Because if we do see a reaction here, then this is a good chance that this could be what we're seeing, a move to 102 before next leg down. And I think that could still snap a lot of people out. All right, fire across. We got copper. Copper's playing the game. Hit the price target, smashed it a couple of times over. That's fine. I told you that it's not quite ready to move out and that we'd see this. And you can see almost it perfectly because this is where I put the line. And I said, look, this will be a little bit of a range. And it's come down here and it's reacting. It's pushing up over here. If we see a big squeeze on DXY, this could come down further over here. If not, it could just ignore it because it doesn't always run perfectly in sync with it. It takes cues from it, excuse me, but it doesn't mean it's going to run completely in sync with it. So if we see a bit of a bounce up over here, again, this is still what I'm looking for, this little range, and then I'll look for where the buyers move out of this range into a higher range. So this, let's just take you. So when I see that, that's when I know that we're going to sort of get it. We're getting ready for at least a big attempt because, you know, the buyers have gone, nah, I'm not going to wait for this point. I'm going to step up my bid, and then they're going to put a stronger assault on these sellers, make a tighter range, and then potentially go through. But for the time being, I think this is just going to continue to consolidate, again, with a little bit of a sort of risk to the downside. I don't think it's going to be complete fail status. But as I say, I don't think it's one to sort of you have to jump into today. So we'll see how we go there. And China starving itself off from death. And as you can see, it's picked itself as lower range. And this, again, this is why we draw the things out. So we know the sellers are here. We know the sellers are here. And here they are coming around and trying to hold it in here. There is a good chance that if we sort of make this a bit bigger now, make this sort of like this, a break high here. As I said, if we do see that play out with the US dollar, then, you know, we could be sort of coming back up to 718. Otherwise, it'll just be a smaller little range like this till we get that break. So it's sort of like you break out of this consolidation box, this becomes your bigger, higher time frame kind of sort of consolidation area, and then we'll sort of see how it plays on from there. But yeah, we'll have to sort of wait and see. All right, I think that's pretty much it from everybody there. I think we've got a quick look at gold-silver ratio. This is one that sort of we were calling the other day, and I said, look, you know, you need to be aware of this. Particularly if you're trading metals, you need to be aware with this. Typically, as a metal bull market, you want to see this chart moving down. So strength in silver. Silver will outperform gold in a metals bull market, percentage-wise. So you want this to be sort of moving in this sort of general direction like this. As it's moving up like this is the big time that we had that big sort of sell down in silver over the last couple of weeks. And obviously as it broke this one, came down, retest, and further down here. This is the level that we want to see underneath here for the next leg. So potentially, this isn't completely overbought yet. So there is a chance for this to move up a little bit and then to come down and move here. But once we break here, this will be when we're seeing gold test for all-time highs. In my opinion, this is what I'll be looking for. So a little bit of upside. So if we do move up along here, I think where could we potentially be going? Well, there's a little bit of a zone through here. Again, this isn't one of those ones that you really trade on small time frames, but maybe something like this, if it does catch on. And these are price levels, not time levels. This could come here, whatever. But that's an area that I'd be looking for a reaction from. All right, cool. That's pretty much it. I'll have a quick look over the news just to finish it off, and refresh that one. So we've got BOJ governor sort of speaking sort of throughout today. Retail sales for Canada, boring. Powell speaking at 12 o'clock tonight. This could be, as I said, a little bit of a mover because Jackson Hole is the main sort of thing that they're looking at the moment. So yeah, it's a pretty quiet sort of news week to sort of finish it off. But of course, we're coming into the last week of the month after that, and then come the new month into September. You know, you got your normal sort of NFPs and all this kind of stuff, but we also have the FOMC, which is going to be the big one. So that's something to look forward to. All right, that's it from me.